My brothers and sisters, have you ever wondered why your happiness disappears so quickly? One moment you are smiling, filled with excitement, and the very next, your heart feels empty, restless, and searching again. You achieve something you thought would bring you lasting joy, but before long you are looking for the next thing to fill the void. Why does this happen? Why is happiness so fragile when we chase it in the wrong places? The truth is, many of us look for happiness in people, in possessions, or in the temporary glitter of this world. We tie our joy to likes, comments, compliments, or material gain, but as soon as those things fade, as they always do, our happiness fades with them. This is because we are placing eternal expectations on temporary things, and when the temporary disappears, so does our sense of peace. Real happiness is not found in what the world gives you, but in what Allah places in your heart. The smile that comes from gratitude, the peace that comes from patience, the joy that comes from trust in Allah's plan. This happiness does not vanish when times are tough. It stays, because it is built on something eternal, something unshakable. So today, let us reflect deeply. Are we chasing a happiness that will disappear tomorrow? Or are we building a happiness that will stay with us in every season of life? This reminder is not about denying yourself joy in the dunya, but about learning how to anchor that joy so it doesn't slip away. Because when your happiness comes from Allah, nothing in this world has the power to steal it. So many people today spend their lives chasing after things that they believe will bring them lasting happiness. You may think to yourself, if only I could buy that new car, move into that bigger house, or get that new phone, then I would finally feel content. And for a moment, when you achieve it, happiness does come. You feel excited, your heart is uplifted, and you might even think, this is it, this is what I needed. But then a few days, weeks, or months later, the excitement fades away. The car becomes old, the house becomes normal, the phone no longer feels special, and your heart begins searching for the next thing to chase. This cycle continues endlessly, and with each pursuit, the happiness you find becomes shorter and shorter, until you begin to wonder why nothing seems to satisfy you anymore. This happens because we are chasing happiness in things that were never designed to give us permanent joy. The world is temporary, and so everything in it is temporary. If the source of your happiness is something temporary, then the happiness itself will also be temporary. It is like trying to hold water in your hands. For a while it feels refreshing, but soon it slips through your fingers and you are left empty-handed once again. The problem is not that happiness does not exist. The problem is that we are looking for it in the wrong places. Sometimes people chase happiness through the approval of others. They want to be noticed, praised, and admired. When someone compliments them, they feel happy. But the moment someone criticizes them, doubts them, or ignores them, their happiness disappears in an instant. Imagine living a life where your joy depends entirely on the words of people, words that change every day, sometimes every hour. How fragile that kind of happiness becomes. If your mood rises and falls with every opinion people hold about you, then you will never know stability, because human beings are not consistent. Their love, their attention, their approval, all of it comes and goes. If you make people the source of your happiness, you will always be disappointed. Others chase happiness through entertainment and distractions. They run after constant fun, music, parties, laughter, or endless scrolling on their phones. And yes, these things give a quick boost, a moment of escape from reality. But as soon as it ends, as soon as the screen is off, the silence of the heart returns. And often that silence feels even heavier than before. Why? Because the distractions never fixed the emptiness inside. They only covered it for a moment. When the laughter fades, the same sadness, the same longing, the same confusion comes back. This is why so many people feel restless even when their lives seem full of excitement. They have confused distraction with happiness. True happiness, my brothers and sisters, cannot be found in things that are designed to fade. It cannot be found in people who themselves are fragile. It cannot be found in pleasures that vanish the moment they are over. This is why happiness disappears so quickly, because we have tied it to things that do not last. Real happiness comes from connecting with something that never disappears, something eternal, something beyond this world. And that is our connection with Allah. When your joy comes from prayer, it does not fade. When your heart is at peace because you trust Allah's plan, no matter what happens, that peace remains. When you find happiness in gratitude, even the smallest blessing becomes a source of joy that no one can take away. Think about it. A person who is grateful for a simple glass of water will always have a reason to smile, while someone who is ungrateful will never be satisfied even if they are surrounded by wealth. Gratitude is what turns what we have into enough, and it is what transforms temporary moments into lasting contentment. So ask yourself today, where is your happiness rooted? Is it in the fragile, fading things of this dunya? Or is it anchored in the one who never changes? If you keep chasing happiness in the temporary, it will always escape you. But if you place your happiness in Allah, then even in times of hardship you will find your heart at peace. And that, my brothers and sisters, is the kind of happiness that does not disappear. One of the greatest lessons we often overlook in life is that words are easy, but actions are what truly matter. We can say so many things, we can make promises, we can speak beautifully about our goals, our dreams, our faith, and even our love for others. But if those words are not backed up by consistent action, they mean very little. Happiness disappears quickly when it is only built on talk, because talk alone cannot bring results, and results are what bring true satisfaction to the heart. Think about how many times we tell ourselves, tomorrow I will change. Tomorrow I will start praying on time. Tomorrow I will stop this bad habit. Tomorrow I will be better. And then tomorrow comes and nothing changes. The words sounded good, the intention felt strong, but without action, it was just another empty promise. Over time, these empty promises weaken us. They make us feel guilty. They drain our confidence. And eventually they make us believe that we cannot change. This is why happiness fades so quickly, because we keep talking about what we want, but we don't do enough to live it. On the other hand, when you start acting, even in small steps, you immediately feel different. A person who quietly prays 2 rakahs at night without announcing it to anyone feels a kind of happiness that words cannot describe. Someone who helps another person secretly, without telling the world, carries a joy that lasts. This is because actions feed the soul, while words only feed the ego. Words are meant to inspire, but actions are what transform. Sometimes people talk loudly to prove themselves. They speak about their knowledge, their wealth, their achievements, or their intentions. They want to be noticed. They want the world to believe they are successful. But the louder they talk, the more fragile their happiness becomes. Why? Because their joy is dependent on convincing people, not on truly living with purpose. The happiest people are not the ones who talk about their success, but the ones who quietly work towards it step by step until their life itself becomes the proof. Even in our faith, we are taught that sincerity matters more than display. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, reminded us that the most beloved deeds to Allah are those done consistently, even if small. Notice he did not say the most beloved words, but the most beloved deeds. This teaches us that it is not about how much we speak about goodness, but how much we live it. Talking less and doing more brings barakah into our lives, because it shifts our energy from impressing people to pleasing Allah. And when Allah is pleased with you, the happiness you feel is something no one can take away. Think of someone who always talks about wanting to get fit but never exercises. Their words may convince people for a while, but eventually their lack of action is exposed. Compare that to someone who doesn't say much but quietly works out every day. In a few months, their transformation speaks louder than any words ever could. The same is true with our character, our faith, our dreams, and our goals. If you want your happiness to last, let your actions be your voice. Another danger of too much talk is that it creates expectations. The more you speak about what you plan to do, the more pressure you place on yourself to live up to those words. When you fail to meet those expectations, disappointment follows and happiness disappears. But when you focus on action first, without announcing it, your progress becomes your secret source of strength. You are not weighed down by the pressure of people's opinions. You are simply walking your path, quietly and sincerely, and that silence becomes your peace. So my brothers and sisters, remember, less talk, more action. Talk when it is necessary, talk when it uplifts, but don't waste your energy trying to prove yourself with words. Let your prayer prove it. Let your kindness prove it. Let your discipline, your patience, your resilience prove it. Because in the end, the world may forget what you said, but it will never forget what you did. Happiness disappears quickly when it is only spoken about. But when happiness is built on sincere actions done for Allah, it becomes steady, reliable, and lasting. Don't just speak about becoming better. Start doing it. Don't just dream about changing. Take the first step, and you will see how your heart begins to glow with a happiness that does not fade. One of the greatest blessings Allah has given us is our energy, our time, our emotions, and our inner strength. Yet so often we spend it carelessly, giving pieces of ourselves to things and people that do not deserve it. We allow negativity to drain us, we get involved in arguments that lead nowhere, and we waste hours worrying about matters that add no value to our lives. Then we wonder why we feel so tired, restless, and empty inside. Happiness disappears quickly when we do not protect our energy, because the heart becomes exhausted by battles it was never meant to fight. Think of your energy as a treasure chest. Inside it are your focus, your patience, your love, and your faith. If you leave this chest open for anyone to take from, soon it will be empty, and you will have nothing left for yourself or your true purpose. But if you guard it carefully, using wisdom to decide who and what deserves access, then that treasure will last, and it will continue to enrich you and those around you. Protecting your energy is not selfish. It is necessary for your peace and for your connection with Allah. Many times we give too much energy to people who thrive on negativity. They gossip, they criticize, they complain, and without realizing it, we absorb their negativity into our own hearts. We spend hours thinking about what they said, why they said it, and how to respond. But in the end, none of it brings us closer to Allah. None of it helps us grow, and none of it gives us lasting happiness. It only drains us. That is why walking away from unnecessary arguments and guarding your silence is an act of wisdom. You don't have to fight every battle. You don't have to explain yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Protecting your energy sometimes means saying nothing and simply moving forward. Our thoughts are also part of our energy. What you allow your mind to focus on determines the state of your heart. If you are always thinking about what you don't have, what others are doing, or what you wish you could change about the past, you will feel empty. But if you train your mind to focus on gratitude, on your blessings, and on the opportunities Allah has given you today, your energy will be uplifted. This is why the Quran reminds us that remembering Allah brings peace to the heart. Reflection and gratitude are like shields that protect your energy from being wasted on things that don't matter. Another way we lose energy is by constantly seeking validation from people. When your happiness depends on whether people approve of you, you will always be drained. Some people will praise you, others will criticize you. But if you make their opinions the measure of your worth, you will never feel peace. Your energy is too precious to be handed over to the opinions of others. Instead, focus on pleasing Allah. When you know that Allah sees your efforts, even if the world ignores them, you will feel a joy that no one can take away. That kind of happiness lasts because it is not tied to the shifting emotions of people, but to the eternal mercy of your Creator. Protecting your energy also means setting boundaries. Learn to say no when something will harm your peace or waste your time. Learn to walk away from toxic environments. Learn to limit the hours you spend on distractions that pull you away from what truly matters. Your time and your energy are trusts from Allah, and you will be asked how you use them. Did you waste them on endless scrolling, meaningless debates, and negative people, or did you invest them in prayer, in kindness, in learning, in serving, and in building your soul? So my brothers and sisters, protect your energy like the treasure it is. Choose carefully where you spend it, because once it is gone, you cannot take it back. Do not let the world drain your peace with constant noise. Instead, reserve your energy for what brings you closer to Allah, for what uplifts your heart, and for what brings benefit to others. When you protect your energy wisely, you will find that your happiness no longer disappears so quickly, because it is no longer being stolen by distractions. It is being nurtured, guarded, and preserved in the light of Allah's guidance. There is great wisdom in the way Islam teaches us about the use of our tongue. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, gave us a very simple but profound guideline. Whoever believes in Allah and the last day, let him speak good or remain silent. This hadith alone, if truly lived, could save us from countless regrets, broken relationships, and lost blessings. Yet in today's world, we find ourselves speaking more than ever before. We speak with our mouths, we type with our fingers, we share endlessly on social media. And often, it is not beneficial speech, it is excessive speech, careless speech, words that add no value, and sometimes words that cause harm. When we speak too much, we open the door to mistakes. The more we talk, the higher the chance that we say something we shouldn't, something that hurts another person, something that displeases Allah, or something that reveals our arrogance. Even small jokes can wound, and even casual gossip can destroy relationships. But beyond the harm it does to others, excessive talk drains our own barakah. It steals the blessings from our time, our peace, and our happiness. Why? Because our hearts become occupied with noise rather than reflection, and a heart filled with noise cannot find closeness to Allah. Think of your words like arrows. Every time you speak, you are shooting an arrow. If you choose your words wisely, the arrow hits the target and benefits someone. But if you keep shooting aimlessly, eventually those arrows will hurt someone, even yourself. This is why the righteous before us would speak very little. They valued their words like gold. They only spoke when it was beneficial, when it brought goodness, when it reminded others of Allah, or when it solved a problem. Otherwise, they kept silent, using that silence to reflect, to remember Allah, and to protect themselves from mistakes. Today, silence feels uncomfortable for many people. We feel the need to fill every gap with chatter, with opinions, with endless discussions. But what we don't realize is that silence is not emptiness. Silence is protection. When you remain silent, you are safeguarding your heart, you are safeguarding your deeds, and you are safeguarding your relationship with Allah. You will never regret the words you did not say, but you may regret the words you spoke without thought. One of the dangers of speaking too much is backbiting. It starts small. A casual comment about someone not present, a little criticism, or a so-called harmless joke. But slowly it grows. The more you talk about people, the easier it becomes to fall into slander, suspicion, and exaggeration. And before you know it, your tongue is harming your deeds. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, warned us that a person may say one word without thinking about its weight, and that word could lead them deep into the fire. Think about that. Just one careless word, one careless sentence could erase years of effort. Is that worth it? When you protect your tongue, however, you find blessings multiplying in your life. Your relationships improve because you are no longer using words to harm but to heal. Your heart feels lighter because it is not carrying the burden of guilt from careless speech. Your time becomes more fruitful because instead of endless conversations, you are using your energy for productive actions. And your happiness becomes more stable because your peace is no longer disturbed by the noise of constant talking. Silence, when practiced with wisdom, brings barakah into your life. Another way excessive talking removes barakah is through wasted time. Hours can be lost in gossip, arguments, or endless discussions that lead nowhere. Time is one of the greatest treasures Allah has given us. And when we waste it in unnecessary talk, we are throwing away opportunities to grow. Imagine how much closer we would be to Allah if the hours we spent in useless conversation were instead spent in dhikr, in Quran, in dua, or even in simple reflection. The truth is, the people who talk less often achieve more because their energy is invested in action rather than chatter. Excessive talk also affects our spiritual sensitivity. The more we fill our lives with words, the less we hear our own soul. The more we argue and debate, the less we hear the quiet guidance of our heart that longs for Allah. Reflection requires silence. Gratitude requires silence. Deep prayer requires silence. But if the tongue is always moving, the heart cannot listen. This is why those who talk less often develop more wisdom, because their silence allows them to see, to listen, and to understand. So, my brothers and sisters, let us remind ourselves, we do not need to comment on everything. We do not need to respond to every opinion, every provocation, or every event. Sometimes silence is the most powerful response. Sometimes silence is the greatest proof of wisdom. Sometimes silence is the strongest form of strength. And when we choose silence wisely, we are not only protecting ourselves from mistakes, but we are also protecting the barakah in our lives. Let your words be like medicine, used sparingly but powerful when needed. Speak when it brings benefit, when it heals, when it reminds others of Allah. And when you have nothing good to say, then remain silent, for silence itself is an act of worship. If you can live by this, you will notice something beautiful. Your happiness will no longer disappear so quickly, because you are no longer giving away your peace through careless words. You are protecting it, treasuring it, and nurturing it in the silence that brings you closer to Allah. One of the main reasons happiness disappears so quickly is because people spend their lives trying to prove themselves to others instead of focusing on their own growth. We live in a world where everyone wants to be noticed, where people are desperate for validation, and where success is often measured by how others see us rather than how Allah sees us. But the reality is, no matter how hard you try, you will never be able to please everyone. People's opinions change, their standards change, and their judgments are often based on their own insecurities. If you tie your happiness to proving yourself in the eyes of people, you will always be chasing something you can never catch. How many times have you done something good, but instead of feeling peace, you worried about whether people appreciated it? You gave charity, but you wanted to be acknowledged. You helped someone, but you waited for them to say thank you. You achieved a milestone, but you felt restless until others noticed it. The truth is, when your joy depends on recognition, that joy is fragile, because sometimes people will see your efforts and sometimes they won't. Sometimes they will appreciate you and sometimes they will criticize you. And if your happiness is tied to their reaction, it will vanish as quickly as it came. Instead, we are meant to focus on progress. Progress that is between us and Allah. Even if no one sees you praying in the last third of the night, Allah sees it. Even if no one knows about the secret charity you gave, Allah knows it. Even if no one appreciates the patience you showed in the face of a trial, Allah appreciates it. That kind of progress may not win you applause, but it wins you something greater, the pleasure of your Creator. And when you seek Allah's approval instead of people's, you find a happiness that does not disappear with changing opinions. Focusing on progress also means celebrating small steps. Many of us become unhappy because we set impossible standards for ourselves. We want instant transformation, instant success, instant perfection, and when we fall short, we feel like failures. But growth is not about being perfect, it is about being better than you were yesterday. If today you prayed one extra sunnah prayer, that is progress. If today you controlled your anger in a situation where you would have exploded before, that is progress. If today you remembered Allah more than you did yesterday, that is progress. And progress, no matter how small, brings peace to the heart when it is acknowledged with gratitude. On the other hand, trying to prove yourself keeps you trapped in comparison. You look at what others are achieving, what they are posting, what they are showing, and you feel like you are not enough. But remember, everyone's journey is different. Your test is not the same as theirs, and your blessings are not the same as theirs. Comparing yourself to others is like comparing the sun and the moon. Both shine, but at different times and in different ways. Allah does not ask you to be like someone else. He asks you to be the best version of yourself. When you shift your focus from proving to progressing, you free yourself from unnecessary pressure. You no longer need to announce every achievement or defend every choice. You live with sincerity, quietly working on your character, your faith, and your goals. And slowly, you begin to feel a deep contentment because you are not chasing approval, you are chasing growth, and growth is something that lasts. So my brothers and sisters, stop exhausting yourself by trying to prove to the world that you are worthy. You are already worthy in the sight of Allah, as long as you are striving sincerely. Instead of asking, do they see me? Do they value me? Do they respect me? Ask, am I closer to Allah today than I was yesterday? Am I improving in the way I deal with people? Am I growing in patience, gratitude, and sincerity? Those are the questions that matter. Those are the questions that bring lasting peace. Happiness disappears quickly when it depends on the unstable approval of people. But happiness stays when it is tied to steady progress that only Allah needs to see. Walk quietly, grow steadily, and let your progress be your proof. Because at the end of the day, the only one you need to prove yourself to is the one who created you. And when you focus on Him, happiness will stop disappearing. It will live in your heart firm and unshakable. My beloved brothers and sisters, we began this journey by asking a simple but powerful question. Why does our happiness disappear so quickly? And throughout this reminder, we discovered that the answer lies not in what happens around us, but in how we choose to live within ourselves. We lose happiness when we chase it in temporary things, when we talk more than we act, when we allow our energy to be drained, when we waste our blessings through careless words, and when we try to prove ourselves to people instead of focusing on steady progress. But the good news is, happiness that lasts is possible when we anchor it in Allah, when we protect it with wisdom, and when we nurture it with sincerity. Lasting joy comes when you stop seeking the approval of people and start seeking the pleasure of your Creator. It comes when you measure your worth, not by the opinions of others, but by the effort you are making to be closer to Allah. It comes when you stop chasing fleeting pleasures and begin treasuring the quiet peace of patience, gratitude, and trust. True happiness is not loud, it is not showy, and it is not temporary. True happiness is a state of the heart, a heart that remembers Allah, a heart that accepts His decree, a heart that is content with what He has given. So do not be disheartened if your happiness has often slipped away. That is part of being human. What matters now is the choice you make moving forward. Protect your silence, guard your energy, focus on progress, and tie your joy to Allah's eternal presence in your life. When you do that, you will find a peace that does not vanish with circumstances, a light that shines even in hardship, and a happiness that lives quietly but powerfully in your soul. May Allah grant us hearts that are content, tongues that speak only goodness, and lives filled with barakah. May He protect us from chasing what fades and guide us toward what lasts forever. Ameen. Thank you, my dear brothers and sisters, for giving your time to listen and reflect. May Allah bless you abundantly for seeking knowledge, for striving to better yourself, and for walking this path of sincerity. If you found benefit in this reminder, do share it with others so that they too may be inspired. Until next time, take care of your heart, hold firmly to your faith, and remember, real happiness is with Allah and with Him alone. Jazakallahu khairan.